Hello everyone, so here's some more clips about Kali. So a lot of this information will apply to not just Kali, but a lot of different ways of understanding God. I think of Ma Kali as the ultimate, the absolute, the source, but that doesn't mean that all of this information is going to apply to just Kali or understanding God in that form. A lot of this is going to be still relating to God in the form of the Divine Mother. There's a number of ways to understand God through feminine forms, through goddesses, through Devis, rather than it just being Kali herself. But I will be using the term Kali a lot and referring to the Divine Mother in reference through the name of Kali. So just when you watch these clips, just keep in mind that this is just a lot of lessons regarding God in general. But I will be saying Kali a lot because my supreme is Ma Kali. But this is information regarding just God in general. And you can appreciate these lessons and understand them no matter how you worship the Supreme, no matter how you view the Supreme, no matter what you see the Supreme as. At any rate, let's go ahead and get started. Remember, the Divine Mother is behind everything. She is, and what I mean by that is that she's behind everything that we think. Understand that she views even your thoughts. She views your actions, obviously, but even your thoughts. And even if we have negative thoughts, if we have negative impulses, and we don't act on them, obviously, and hurt anybody else or hurt ourselves, if we have these negative thoughts, as long as we try to work our way back around to correct thinking, then Kali also sees that. If we have negative thoughts, negative emotions within, and we don't act on them, that happens with every human being. Don't be too afraid that, she's seeing this, or God, or whatever power that you believe in is seeing your thoughts. Accept that the power is seeing your thoughts. So try to work your way back around to proper thinking, proper action, proper ways of understanding. Don't be so paranoid that you're like, oh, I can't think this, I can't think that. If you do think something negative, then be like, okay, what is the proper way to think? What is the root of why I'm thinking this way? Why am I thinking this thought? Is there a way to think in a more proper manner, more compassionate, more understanding manner, but also a more effective manner? Because a lot of going through life is trying to live more effectively. Evil is not something that is, you could say, black and white, most definitely, but it's not something that's inherently opposite of everything else. Evil is just an ineffective way of living, and ineffective way of living, it's an ineffective way of thinking, as long as the way that we're living is by our own choices. So don't be consumed with paranoia. At the same time, understand that Kali sees your thoughts and sees your intentions. You can't hide anything from her. You can't hide your good intentions or your bad intentions. You can't hide your efforts. So as long as you try, the harder that you try, the more that she sees you trying, the more that you will receive internally or externally, bits of divine grace. But don't rely on grace, because grace and mercy, everybody wants to rely upon that. But no, you have to try to correct yourself internally and externally. Your thoughts and your actions, you have to try to correct yourself. You have to try to improve. You can't just rely on divine grace. You can't just rely on divine mercy. It's there, but don't expect it when it's convenient for you. And don't be too ready to, once again, judge other people and think that it doesn't exist for them. But at the same time, if they're doing something bad, you're more than in the right in acting or letting somebody know if they need to act. Do not, grace and mercy are something we have to keep in mind and be kind of egalitarian in the way that we apply it. We can't just think that we have all the grace and mercy, nobody else does. And at the same time, we can't think that, me not telling somebody of authority or somebody else that somebody is doing something bad or negative or hurting somebody else or hurting us, that God will just take care of it all. We can't just think that God is going to take care of it all. We have to follow like the laws and procedures, internally and externally of stopping abuse in the world, stopping abuse of power, abuse on a personal level, or just the wrongs that we see in the world. We have the obligation to do what we can, and what we can't do, we have to leave up to divine grace, divine mercy. So at the same time, that's external. Internally, we have to apply it as well. Whatever we can change within our own thinking, within our own mind, and externally in our own actions, whatever we can change, we have to do it. We can't just leave it up and be like, okay, God will change me. No, you have to change yourself. You have to do the internal work. You have to do the external work. And if you don't, you can't be mad when divine mercy and divine grace don't come your way. We have to understand that since everything is a part of God, everything's a part of the Supreme, and Ma Kali is, the power of the Supreme, and really the force of consciousness, the enlivening aspect of life. As a Shakta, I think that she is all these things. But regardless, we have to not necessarily view ourselves as an extension of divine will, but we have to see where we can act for the benefit of everybody and ourselves, and do those actions and reform ourselves within. And that is the way that you can say, get karma on our side, but also that is the way that we leave ourselves open for the most mercy and grace. And that is another aspect of Ma Kali. That's another aspect of the Supreme. That's another aspect of this world. Thank you very much for watching. Hello, everyone. So let's talk about how we view nature, how we view Kali in her form as Prakriti, and the various forms that she manifests through nature, and how it relates to our diet and how we walk through the world. So when we walk through the world, we have to think of nature as everything that's not man, and how these various forms of life manifest, and which various forms can we benefit through either our diet or the way that we treat the planet in general. Easily throwing away trash is an obvious one. Rather than allowing plastic to kind of circulate and go into nature, and it takes a long time for plastic to break down, rather than earthenware or metal, it's good to just throw stuff away. Or to be mindful when you're walking through grass or trees. You actually might want to have some tactile contact with nature. When you're walking through nature, think of kind of shaking Kali's hand when you're touching trees, when you're appreciating the smell of nature itself, the earth. When you're walking through it, think of how beautiful all these fruits of the Divine Mother are. And they're not just fruits that you would consume, but fruits that you enjoy just by existing in this environment. No matter what kind of nature that you're in, all the senses take in all this information that is honestly, we take for granted, but it's very pleasant. If you're in a deep, dark, dungeon or cave or something like that, you start to realize that how beautiful trees are, how wonderful it is to have a connection with nature. As the other half of our lung system is external. We have our human lungs that take in the oxygen, but then we have trees are external lungs that take in the carbon dioxide and make that oxygen. I think that if more people viewed our circulatory system as existing half within our bodies and half external, then we wouldn't harm nature as much. Most people don't really think about how much our environment and us are one, and how much, since we've evolved in this environment, in nature, how much we can gain through contact with it, being around it, appreciating it, touching it, and just even walking through grass. Every amount of information that you take in can be appreciated, contemplated, and understood, and most importantly, appreciated. We take so many things for granted that people in various parts of the world, or in the far future when nature is more suffocated, that will look back in appreciation for what we had contact with, or what we had the privilege of having. Hopefully we don't get to that stage, but it might be inevitable for the future at some point. And then, as the cycle goes by, things will get better. But so when we think about diet, I'm vegan. Sometimes I go vegetarian, take in a little bit of dairy, but rarely. And we have to think about, what does our diet kind of support? How much pain can a plant feel compared to an animal? How much damage does our diet do to the environment? Without going into a bunch of detail, obviously animals can feel more pain. Plants feel pain. It's very subtle, but they feel pain. So we're still causing pain by consuming them, but we have to consume something. Animals, they have more emotions tied to that pain. They have more reflection, dread, and suffering when they're being raised in places where they're just going to be slaughtered, especially with factory farming and things like that. So without belaboring the point, it's good to think about, how much harm are you supporting through your diet? And, there's a lot of good points as far as, farming and certain ways that we farm. There's a lot of animals killed during that. But, you kind of got to measure it in your head. I can't tell you what is completely right or what you should do completely. I don't have that authority and I don't have all the information, but it's always good to keep in mind how much pain am I causing compared to how much, I don't need to cause. Could I change my diet to cause less pain overall? Everything feels pain, but, animals feel more emotional pain, there's more dimensions to their pain. And, various, even plant products, for instance, oat milk is probably one of the best milks for the environment. Soy milk, not the best for the environment. 1 pound of beef takes a whole bunch of water compared to 1 pound of plant material, but 1 pound of something like, soybeans still takes up a lot of fresh water that could be used elsewhere. So it's good to just have in your mental lexicon, what is my diet? How much pain is my diet causing? And how is my relation to Prakriti? How much my relation to God as the divine feminine, which is nature that we see all around us in all its forms? How can I improve that to cause less suffering? Just something to keep in mind. It's not about a taboo against eating meat or it being evil or something like that. It's just something to keep in mind so that you do your part to have some kind of equilibrium with nature. And always keep in mind that, dairy products, there's still a whole lot of factory farming in regards to that, still a whole lot of suffering. So it's always good to keep in mind how we consume, how much we consume, and if how we're consuming it is benefiting the world around us. I have touched the souls of trees. That might sound strange. So through energy techniques, I have kind of extended my consciousness and my body awareness into them. And they, especially with trees, I think because of our evolutionary process, from apes at some point, we're very connected to trees and we've been around them, we love them, we hang on to them, things like that. For some reason, it's easier for us to connect to trees rather than other plants. You can connect to other plants, but very easy with trees. But when I extend my body awareness and my consciousness into them, they don't completely understand or see through a discriminating eye the difference between themselves and the earth. They just feel themselves as a projection from the earth. They don't see like the difference between, for instance, me and this floor. For them, they just feel like an extension of the floor, of the earth, if that makes sense. And because you're viewing things from a single tree, they always feel like they're a little bit bigger of a bump. So they on the earth, because it has all these bumps, things protruding. So that's their individuality, but that's the extent of their individuality. They feel like in their mind they're a bigger bump. At the same time, they don't feel like they're separate from the earth. And in a way that makes sense with, Prakriti, an extension of Kali, that plants kind of are more willing to provide things for us. They're easy for our digestive system, spiritually and biologically, to reprogram into making more of oneself. Because everything we eat, we're just making more of ourselves. We're fueling what we are and making more of ourselves, making more cells that are us. And they're way easier to reprogram because they just they feel themselves as more just an extension of nature than individual identity. Whereas an animal has a bigger sense of individuality, has a bigger sense of being separate. They don't understand it through all these words, but they feel more separate from the earth than plants do. Plants feel like an extension. There's a lot of spiritual masters that say, don't pick flowers. And there's ways to understand this. Flowers, there's another Swami, he said when he connected to flowers, like they want to be picked. They're like, oh, enjoy my fragrance, enjoy my scent, enjoy my beauty. But they can just be the beauty of the Divine Mother where they are, as they are, rather than being picked and isolated and taken somewhere. They can be viewed as beautiful and experienced as being beautiful as they are, rather than being owned. I think there's a lesson about actually human relationships in that, appreciating for somebody as they are rather than us owning them or containing them to our property. But regardless, you can appreciate flowers where they are as they are. I still make flower offerings to Divine Mother, to Ma Kali. I still make flower offerings like lotuses and red flowers, things like that. I'm not saying you shouldn't offer flowers, but just keep in mind that flowers are the beauty of Prakriti, of Kali, of Mother Nature herself. They are her external beauty, at the farthest reaches, and the ones that she's presenting to us. And just think of flowers and like beautiful plant life as the beauty of nature. Look around you and see these beautiful garments that the earth takes up, that Prakriti takes up, that Parvati takes up, that Kali takes up. These are her real clothes. She's not usually viewed, and even in her symbols, as having like human clothes. She's with our pride of us, or things that she takes from us that are painful, like our attachments, things like that. The earth itself is showing its beauty through flowers. Appreciate it in that form, and don't just pick flowers without being mindful. Think, okay, thank the earth when you pick a flower. Thank the earth when you take a leaf. Having a relationship where in your head and in your heart, you're having a more reciprocal emotional exchange. If it's not completely like, giving something to the plant back, at least make it emotionally reciprocal and understand and appreciate. And that'll bring you energetically closer to Parvati, Prakriti, to Mother Nature, to Earth, to Kali. Appreciating things as they are rather than trying to make them into something or taking them and owning them. Feel like it's a grander exchange beyond just human desires, human wants, and human concerns. As long as you're conscious of everything, you'll make your life better, and it'll make your energetic exchange more equal. And you'll slowly start to see little things happening for you in nature that will reflect this better form of karma that you're producing by being conscious of your exchange, your love, and your appreciation of nature. At any rate, Jai Ma, hail the Divine Mother, hail the earth, hail Prakriti, hail Parvati, hail God in the feminine form, hail the beauty that we see all around us, that we experience, and our lungs are only half in here and half out there because we rely on our very breath to the trees, to the plants, and to this relationship that we share. Thank you very much, and all of you. Have a wonderful day.